The image that's on the cover shows two mule drivers who've been assassinated and tied to a tree, and that was a picture of an atrocity that took place in an earlier war called La Violencia, the violence. And so I put this picture on the cover in part to recognize its value as describing a war that's past. A woman and her baby running, trying to make it home during combat between guerrillas of the FARC, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, which is the most powerful guerrilla group, and state forces in Medellin. I understood perhaps very well her fear as she was running across the street, because at that moment I could, judge that it was very dangerous for her. And the policeman behind her he's like, if you're going to go, you got to run now. Run now. This photograph was taken in the province of Arauca in 2002. It shows the aftermath of the bombing of an oil pipeline by ELN, the second of the existing Colombia guerrilla organizations, and a Colombian helicopter flying in to provide support to the technicians who have to fix this. The sabotage of the oil infrastructure is a very potent weapon that the guerrillas have to pressure the state, because it's a huge amount of money lost. So this photograph shows a young man who'd been assassinated, and the authorities at the scene, the police, explained to me it was the modus operandi of these powerful right-wing militias known as the self-defense forces or paramilitaries. The light comes from below, and it's a very strange theatrical light, and it speaks to kind of ways in which these groups actually use killing to send messages to the population to scare people, and starting with this very young girl. This photograph is important to me because it's two colleagues of a journalist named Jose Duviel, who was apparently assassinated by the FARC. And in a 2-week period, if I remember right, there had been 13 journalists assassinated in Colombia at this time. So I put this picture up fairly early in this work to recognize the role of Colombian journalists in providing the information that's inside this book. In this photograph, it shows a group of Arhuaco Mamos, who are their traditional priests, and they're on a sort of pilgrimage. They're going around the base of the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, where they live, and doing meditative spiritual work around the base. This was taken in an area that was under control by right-wing paramilitaries who'd been killing many of these Arhuacos. The white hats they wear refer to the snows at the peak of the Sierra Nevada. And the look on their faces is very interesting. It's a kind of determination and some patience and some anger and some distrust. But this image of a train reminds me of the role that trains played in the destruction of indigenous culture in the United States as well. This photograph was taken in the headquarters of something called the Youth Network in the middle of Medellin. And the Youth Network is it's young people who profess an attitude of pacifism, and they also have a strong feminist component to their thinking. This shows a young woman who's actually juggling, and the fact that I know that there were sinister people all around that area who might do her harm really struck me as an example of kind of both bravery and the good humor that you find among a lot of these Colombian activists. The point of this work of Violentology is to combine that history in a visual book that contains the evidence and that provides a historical record, and also that documents the dynamics of an important war that's really overlooked.